story boat today. That's great.
Fired from Starbucks.
I am supposed to do an actual tour here. I will tell you a little bit. This is the River Center. The shops at River Center, along with the hotel and this river waterway, all built from 1985 to 1988. The shops at River Center has 100 retail establishments. Beautiful entertainment there as well. And the compound here was actually bought by a development group from the owners of the Fairmount Hotel. Fairmount Hotel stood on this site for 79 years, from 1906 to 1985, being a historical site. So, though, they decided they're not going to demolish it. They picked it up and carried it down the road in one piece, 1,600 tons on 46 dollies, rolled it down the street over the course of 6 days, and parked it on the corner of South Alamo Street and Nueva Street. That hotel is still operating today, 118-year-old hotel now. And you can get a room there today. I mean, maybe not, they're probably sold out. It's not a big hotel, but it is worth checking it out. The big statue on my left side by Pedro Reyes, called the Stargazer. She is made of Mexican black volcanic rock. Except for the little white marble star you'll see on the way back in, she sees through the pinhole in that star toward the future of San Antonio. Now to the left, the convention center extension of the river continues on a little ways. We won't be able to go down to the left. We won't be able to go down to the left today, folks, but I do encourage, it's a great walk. If you're looking for something serene after this raucous boat we have tonight, you take a walk down that way through the Lonesome Dove Grotto underneath the convention center. You see some beautiful art, and then you'll end up in the Hemisphere Park, the fairgrounds from the 1968 World's Fair. This section of the river was built in 1968, called the Man-Made Extension. The purpose of this section of the river was just to connect the fairgrounds at the World's Fair, the Hemisphere, to the natural course of the river. We wanted to show our guests from all over the world what the San Antonio River Walk had to offer. And so we started our ferry boats in 1968 during the World's Fair, bringing those guests from the World's Fair down to the San Antonio River. Today, the Man-Made Extension is the home of Peaks Park, this beautiful garden park with the lit walkways. Wonderful place to go at night, and the water features as well. Up on street level on the Market Street side, there are about a dozen sculptures by local artists, and you can see one here from the river level, those two steel flowers. Now you can see up ahead of us under Alamo Street the beautiful lighting we have here at nighttime on the San Antonio River Walk. But let me tell you, after Thanksgiving until January 1st, the lights here are turned up to 11, have lighting on every tree, lights strung across the river walk in a beautiful mosaic. The holiday festival of lights here on the San Antonio River Walk is something to behold. On your right side, you can see the Chamber of Commerce building, and I want you to look toward the edge of the building. At street level, you're going to see a red ribbon-shaped sculpture. That is the Torch of Friendship, built in 2002. That was commissioned by the nation of Mexico as a gift to the city of San Antonio, created by artist Sebastian. The purpose is to symbolize the alliance of the nations of the United States and Mexico. Do a slow bypass here. Oh no! Did you radio it in? Okay. These books are help is on the way. Help is on the way.
Added in 1968 for the World's Fair.
I did just have the manager look over my boat on the tour before yours. Everything should be fine. to be exiting the man-made section of the river and going into the natural course of the river. For thousands of years, the river has followed this course. The Hilton Palacio del Rio ahead of us, I want to point that out. It sets a world record in 1968, so it's held that record for some 70 years now. The Hilton Palacio del Rio has 500 hotel rooms, and it's the fastest construction of its size, built in only 202 days. So if you figure a hotel with a huge lobby like this, a swimming pool, an elevator shaft, and 500 rooms in 202 days, just the rooms, they were making 2 rooms a day. And then some. They were able to achieve that feat through a modular tower construction system. So the central tower where the elevator shaft is, as well as the structural tower in the middle of those rooms, that was built in a traditional style. But the 500 hotel rooms were built on an assembly line 8 miles south of downtown. They built those 500 blocks and sent them down a conveyor belt, piece by piece, adding little bits of a hotel room until they popped out the other side, ready to be lifted. They put them on the back of a truck, brought them into town, lifted them on cranes, and hung them from that central tower, and you had yourself a hotel, folks. By the last week, they were hanging 35 rooms in a single day. Crews were working non-stop around the clock. Let's let the San Antonio River Walk speak for itself for a moment. This area is called La Villita Historic Arts Village. It started as a Spanish settlement for the soldiers stationed at the Alamo in 1722. In 1939, it had become the home to French and German immigrants as well, and it became named a Historic Arts District. The stage here is the Arneson River Theater. This is the centerpiece of the San Antonio Grand Design for the River Walk in 1941. The theater seats 800 on the opposite side of the stage. It hosts hundreds of events a year, including the Fiesta Noche del Rio every summer, every Friday during the summertime. On our right side, you're going to see a few bronze statues. There's a kingfisher, a bronco, a caballero rounding up some bulls there. That's all right in front of the Briscoe Western Art Museum, opened there in 2013. Has many, many exhibits celebrating the culture and heritage of the American West. Some of the exhibits inside, an interactive diorama of the Alamo and Pancho Villa's last known saddle. The building here was built in 1930. It was originally the San Antonio Public Library, the first library we had in town. You can see the Tower Life building just through the trees there for a moment before it hides behind those bald cypress again, but we'll be close up to that in a little bit. Watch your heads on the left side. We have a weight holding a light down. Watch that. There we go. And also, as we go under Presa Street Bridge, be mindful not to touch the bridge, folks. Great job. Everybody, we just survived the most perilous part of the journey. In my book, you're all adventurers now. Congratulations. Yeah. On the right side, this little island with the bald cypress trees is called Marriage Island. The roots of that bald cypress tree form the shape of a heart. It's said to be a very romantic place. The sculpture on the island is called Father Damien Massenet's Table, built by artist Ronaldo Roseno in 1991 on the 300th anniversary of the very first Catholic Mass on the San Antonio River. That took place 300 years earlier, June 13th, 1691. Father Damien Massenet was the priest with those Spanish settlers, and he blessed the ceremony. by naming the river after St. Anthony, because June 13th was his feast day. That's how this river and the mission and the city came to be known as San Antonio, because of that mass on June 13th, 1691. The river did have a name before that. The folks who lived here called it Yanaguana, which means clear, calming waters. And if you walk down to that hemisphere part through the convention center extension, the Yanaguana Park Garden is in the hemisphere as well. Beautiful trellised walkways, a children's playground, and a splash pad as well. On my left side, you can see the Tower Life building stretching up high into the sky. That's 388 structural feet. If you add the antenna and the flagpole, that makes 440 feet. Tower Life building built in 1929 at a cost of $3 million. It stands today as the tallest 8-sided building in our country, which, you know, that's a little bit of a narrow scope, but I'm happy to say we have the tallest something or other. There are also gargoyles up there on the 29th and 30th floor, as well as grotesque faces. Subtle difference, gargoyles on the top floor, grotesque the faces above the first floor. The first tenants of this building, the Sears and Roebuck Company, from 1929 to 1939. They were a department store. You could buy just about anything at Sears. Now, one of our former presidents, Lyndon B. Johnson, he came down here and met a woman named Lady Bird. She became his wife later, so a happy ending to this story. In 1934, he met her here in November that year, and halfway through the date, he decided he was going to marry her. So he sent his buddy who worked at the post office to come to the Sears department store and pick up a ring. Of course, his buddy got there. He'd never even met Lady Bird. So when they asked him what size he needed, he just got every size that they had. He got 12 rings that brought him to Lyndon B. Johnson. Lyndon B. Johnson sorted through and picked one out, got down on one knee, asked Lady Bird, "Will you marry me?" And she said, "No," because they had just met. Could you imagine the scandal, though? In 1934, a young woman goes on a date for the first time with a young man, comes home to her father, and he asks how it went. He says, "Well, I'm engaged now." I don't think that would have gone too well. I'll need to blow my horn here for just a moment, folks, before we enter the flood channel. Now, right across the flood channel, you can see the top of the Bayard County Courthouse. That is a red brick building made of red sandstone bricks, as well as Texas granite, completed in 1897. That was the 5th seat of government here in San Antonio. San Antonio has fallen under 5 different nations: Spain, Mexico, the Republic of Texas, the Confederate States, and the United States. And all 5 of those seats of government were within 2 blocks of that building. The Spanish Governor's Palace is still available to visit today. So making a right turn there puts us in the flood channel. This section is man-made, built in 1924 by the Army Corps of Engineers. If we'd gone the other way, the river goes downstream some 80 miles, past 4 more missions, down into the Gulf of Mexico. The reason there's a flood channel here, September 9, 1921, the floodwaters downtown turned into a lake. The water was 9 feet above street level. Sometimes the Riverwalk is best to speak for itself, folks. It's spooky season now, apparently. You can see this beautiful bridge ahead of us, folks. Let's try and get us back on the tour here. Built in 2007, as well as the sidewalk on my right side. In 2007, that was the first time that all of the Riverwalk was able to connect directly to the main plaza on the west side, on my left. The main plaza is the home. Oh, you want a Hong Kong? On the main plaza, that's the home of the San Fernando Cathedral. That cathedral was built in 1750 after 16 Canary Island families moved here in 1731 and started their congregation on that site. San Fernando Cathedral is the home of that congregation still today, making it the longest continuous meeting religious congregation in the state of Texas. Also, that cathedral hosts a light show, San Antonio de Saga, every night except for Monday nights at 9 and 9:30 p.m. That tiki bar is called Hugman's Oasis, as well as the restaurant Tokyo Cowboy. But I do want to point out this big tree right in front of me. It's the tallest and oldest tree on the Riverwalk, bald cypress tree, standing 90 feet tall, 25 feet wide at the canopy. The first time I know of it mentioned in history was in 1835, during the Siege of Bayard. There was a Barramundi Palace, a lovely Spanish colonial home on the west bank of the river, which was the quarters for the Texan officers preparing for the Siege of Bayard. A Mexican army sniper snuck behind enemy lines, climbed up that tree, fired on his first target, which was Colonel Ben Milam, the second in command of Burleson's brigade there in the Siege of Bayard. And they call that the Ben Milam tree today. Now at this spot on the river, the left side has the Drury Inn and Suites. But in 1921, the building looked just the same, but it was called the City Public Services Building. That was where you had to go and pay your bills. And if you needed to drown your sorrows after you paid all your bills and you only had a few bucks left, you would go across the little footbridge that was right here over to the Esquire Tavern, opened there in 1930. That's the oldest bar on the Riverwalk. Also hosts the longest continuous wooden bar top at 108 feet long. On the right side, you're going to see one of our other tour locations, the Aztec on the River. It also is a historic location. The Aztec Theater was built in 1926 at a cost of $1.7 million. On the top balcony, you can see the visage of an Aztec warrior lit up there, just above street level. In the lobby, it also hosts a 2-ton chandelier that's still operational to this day, that I imagine must have accounted for about half of the budget of that building when it opened. Now, the Aztec hosted movies from the 20s to the 70s, and they closed for business, stopped hosting movies, got renovated, reopened in the 2000s. Today it hosts live shows such as magicians, concerts, comedians, musical theater, that sort of thing. Howdy, y'all. Hi there. That's what I'm talking about. Happy to share a little bit of conviviality. The next historic building is on the right side of the river. This cream-colored building is 123 years old. Today it's the Mocara Hotel and Suites. But it opened in 1901 as the L. Frank Saddlery Building, the largest saddle company in the world by 1918. In 2002, the facade of that building actually fell off. It had to be reconstructed in its original condition, and they also added 3 floors on top. Hey, good to see you again. You got some balloons, nice. On my left side, another historic building built in 1853. Today it's the Omni La Mansion Hotel, and it's been a hotel since 1968. But in 1853, it was a school. I need to reposition myself a little bit. I got pushed a little bit off course by that waterfall. So, 1853, that was a school, the St. Mary's School for Boys. That's not what that's supposed to sound like. The school became an academy. Academy became a college. The college became a university. And we still have St. Mary's University. It's just 10 miles to the west now on a beautiful campus. In 1968, they sold this building to one of their alumni to convert it into a hotel just in time for that World's Fair we had that same year. Now my favorite building is on the left side here, just above the bubble gum. If you look at it from this angle, it actually makes a bit of an optical illusion. It almost looks like it's just got one side of the building, just one flat plane there. That building was constructed in 1930. It opened as the Mix Hospital. When it opened, it was the tallest hospital in the world. One of the first modern hospitals in the United States. And the first place in San Antonio to have air conditioning. I do encourage you to come back and look at that during the daytime. If you like architecture, it's a fantastic building. It has beautiful color and the brick and stonework. Now you can see the nightlife starting to fire up here. Viva Quito nightclub is sort of place where you get some bachata or some salsa music going. Nightlife is going to keep on going here along the river walk until about 2 o'clock this tomorrow morning. Excuse me. The glass lobby you see on the outside of this bend, that belongs to the Hyatt Regency Hotel, opened on this location in 1981. Now, they wanted to be conscientious because the Alamo is just 2 blocks to the east there. That place is a hallowed place. We always respect the heritage of the Alamo, and we always remember the Alamo. So, in remembrance, they allowed the public to pass through their lobby here. You can enter this side, and right now you actually can't exit toward the Alamo. There's construction at the Alamo Plaza. When they finish it, you'll be able to exit directly into the Alamo Plaza again. The second thing they did, they made sure their building would never cast a shadow on the Alamo. If they had built it any taller, they would have. But out of reverence, they maintained the building at 16 stories tall. And by the way, is there anyone here who hasn't seen the Alamo yet? Okay, if you leave San Antonio without going to the Alamo, somebody at home is going to chide you endlessly about it. You have to remember the Alamo. Okay? Okay, good job. Don't let me down. Now on the right side we have another historic building, the Casino Club building, built in 1927, a joint venture of 2 clandestine men's clubs, the San Antonio Social Club and the San Antonio Casino Association. The building has never been a casino in any official capacity, but I suppose the Casino Club probably did something akin to gambling. Their meetings were secret, so we don't know that. We're still in what we call restaurants, we call River Square here, but a lot of folks call this Restaurant Row. Every kind of dining you could imagine is available on the Riverwalk here. Many of these restaurants also partner with Go Rio to do our dinner cruises. Now on my right side, you're going to see a round-shaped building right next to the street. There's a balcony there, and on the balcony, the name of that chief architect of the Riverwalk, Robert H.H. Hugman, as well as the statue of Robert Hugman there. The reason that place commemorates Robert Hugman, he moved his office there in 1941, right after he finished the Riverwalk project, to show that he believed in the project to protect the downtown area from flooding and to promote commerce here. It still didn't pick up for a couple of decades, and he was actually maligned in this time. He actually was fired by the city just a couple months before the Riverwalk was completed. But I am glad that he persisted in his vision, because we wouldn't have what we have here today if it weren't for that. Now on the right side, this building is the Casa Rio restaurant, the first place to open riverside dining in 1946, and the building is a 1777 Spanish colonial estate. Let's enjoy some mariachi music. And this takes us out of the natural course of the river back into our man-made extension again.
This is how your mom said.
We're about to wrap up our trip in a little bit. Do we have anybody who's had questions about San Antonio that they'd like to ask, or about the river, the cruises, about myself? Yes, sir. My favorite part about San Antonio is I love living downtown. So I visited downtown many times. I lived here for the first couple of years, and then I moved above the Majestic on Houston Street. And it's just so much better of an experience to just live in it, to come out and be among everything here. And I haven't gotten tired of it yet. I've lived here for quite some time now. But from your perspective, what I would recommend to you as my favorite thing to do, I would say, do you have a romantic partner with you today? Okay, let me rethink that. So, to calm down personally at the end of a long night, I'll go to the Hemisphere Civic Park. There's a wading pool there. I will take my shoes off, put my feet in the water, and sit and just enjoy the night breeze while I'm in the beauty of the Hemisphere Civic Park. That's my favorite thing to do. It centers me at the end of a long night. Yes, sir. Question here. Of what we've seen today?
No.
Of working here? My favorite part of working here is meeting people from all over the world and just seeing people in the best mood. Every day I come to work, people come here planning to have a good time. And it's just such a great vibe to be among people who are intentionally enjoying themselves. And I've never had such an experience in any other job in my life, and it's really great being among people celebrating, having a great time. I love it. I love meeting people like you. Also, I need to ask before we park the boat, has anyone here ever been to Antarctica? Okay, I've got 6 continents down. I'm working on that 7th one. I ask on every single boat. So far I haven't gotten one. But if you know anyone who has been to Antarctica, send them to San Antonio, tell them to look for me. I'll give them a free ride on the boat. Don't tell my boss. Did you have a question up there, miss? Okay. So a couple more things. I've given like 11 tours, so forgive me if I've told you this already. But on your right side, you're going to see the Tower of the Americas through the trees there. That 750-foot observation tower. That was the centerpiece of the World's Fair in 1968. It stood as the tallest observation tower in the country until 1996. You can also take a elevator that only takes 48 seconds to get to the top of that tower. The elevator takes 48 seconds. The line might take a little bit longer. And with that, folks, looks like we are closing it down here at the River Center. You guys get to be the very last boat to come in. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed yourselves, folks. While I dock the boat, remember to remain seated. I will let you know once we're all tied down. Then it will be safe to stand up. Until then, please stay in your seats. Check around your surroundings. Make sure you have all of your things, all of your trash, all of your belongings. Last of all,